Welcome to the Russ Joy Show. I'm Russ Joy. You figured that out because you're smart, and it's also the name of the show. I'm going to hijack my own show. I'm actually going to throw everything I was going to initially talk about on today's show, and I am going to upend it right now. And I'm going to tell you exactly why I'm upending it. Because war has been declared. And you guys know me. I don't like to go on the offensive unless somebody else does it first. And sometimes people are stupid enough to go on the offensive. Sometimes people are stupid enough to do things, to say things, to try to get me to engage in things that are going to be problematic and angry and ultimately somewhat disappointing, because I'm not proud of where the show's about to go, but I am going to tell you that it is important. And so we're going to go there to start. Wawa has declared war. And I don't mean they've declared war on sheets. No. Wawa has declared war on their rewards members. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Russ, why would you not lead the show with the news that Brandon Graham came back? Why would you not lead the show with the news that, the Sixers are back tonight? Why wouldn't you lead the show talking about the great Dan Vladar? Because Wawa did something that they should have known better than to send. Wawa sent notice around about something that I am so deeply, incredibly troubled by that I might have actually sent it to my trash can. I'm looking at my email right now. I did. I was so pissed off that I sent it to the trash. But fear not, my friends. I'm going to bring it up here. Now, if you're a Wawa Rewards member and you typically go out of your way to ignore the Wawa emails, well, I've got news for you. I'm here for you. I got your back. Not that long ago, we talked about on this show how Sheetz was getting ready to invade Wawa country, that we're getting one in Limerick. There's one coming to Downingtown. And there was a time where we talked about the fact that Wawa was cutting back on their menu items. And by the way, I'll put the comments up here in the bottom right. You can let me know how you're feeling. But this is next level lunacy. What I'm about to show you is a change in policy that is so embarrassing. This is a flip-flop in policy that would make John Kerry blush. Oh, yeah. You didn't think you were getting some George W. Bush versus John Kerry content on today's show? Don't worry. I'm here for you. This is a massive flip-flop. So this leads the show, and it's the dumbest way I've ever started a show, and that says a lot because it's an admittedly low bar. But here's Wawa. This is earlier today. I'm going to take comments down for a second. Here's Wawa. I awake from my slumber, arise from my sleep. A new day is dawning for all those who weep. Who knew that a church song was going to apply to Wawa? But that's where we're at right now. The people in darkness, they'll see a great light. The gas station of our longing will conquer the night. And that'll be Sheetz. Sheetz is going to take down Wawa. Because look at this dumb shit. So here's Wawa earlier today sending an email around to Wawa Rewards members. As a Wawa Rewards member, we want to let you know about an upcoming change to the program. Starting December 2nd, 2025, Wawa Rewards points will expire 6 months after earning instead of the current 12-month period. Reward points and earned after December 2nd, 2025 will expire the first day of the 6th month after they're earned, if not previously redeemed. For example, you earned 100 points on December 7th, 2025. Those 100 points now expire on July 1st, 2026. Any points earned between June 2nd, 2025 and December 1st, 2025 will have an expiration of June 1st, 2026, if not previously redeemed. Any points earned prior to June 1st, 2025 will continue to expire on the first day of the 12th month after they're earned, if not previously redeemed. They are changing the reward point redemption window. Are you kidding me? You used to have 12 months. This used to be a great nation. You used to get 12 months from the time you would earn a point with Wawa. You had 12 months to either get your shit together or have your life fall apart so much that you were relying on those Wawa reward points. And they're taking from 12 months down to 6. So if I go and I don't know, let's say there are 3 Flyers home games in a week and yours truly stops at Wawa 3 times to go get a large hoagie with extra meat, maybe a pack of Tasty Cakes. Sometimes it's 2 for $4, and those are really great days. Maybe pick up an iced tea along the way, and then feel really bad about himself in the car and realize that all of those useless carbs and saturated fats might take him a little bit sooner from this planet than he might otherwise want to be, and then sends him into an existential crisis and dread, thinking about his wife and children being left without their husband and father, respectively, earlier in life, because he just can't help himself but to have an extra meat hoagie and have a 3-pack of Tasty Cakes that sometimes becomes 6 because, the other pack is sitting there on the passenger seat the entire time. And then he gets out of that Flyers game at around, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and he thinks, hey, you know what? Do I stop somewhere to get something to eat? Oh, I have a 3-pack of Tasty Cakes. Now, that guy, some might say fat guy, that guy no longer has a full year to get his priorities in line, to decide that, maybe the little cup of sliced celery and carrots, that's the way to go. Go get that. Go get that, Russ. Go eat the vegetables. Go, Russ, forego the 3-pack of Tasty Cakes. Go get the little thing of rinsed seedless red grapes. That's a good way to go, Russ. Maybe just go ahead and get a bottle of water. Maybe ask them if they have a slice of grilled chicken, a single sliver of grilled chicken. Ask them if they could just put some of those roasted veggies in a little bowl with the slice of chicken. Maybe we should ask Wawa to create acai bowls, because they're already in the business of creating shit no one ever asked for. Maybe we can get Wawa to do acai bowls. Kale salads, maybe that could be a thing. It probably is already. Maybe we could do that. So I don't have a year to procrastinate on getting healthier and eating better and making better life choices. You're only going to give me 6 months? What happens 6 months from now? Okay, November, December, January, February, March, April. April. Hope springs eternal in April. What happens in April? April showers bring May flowers. That's what's supposed to happen. April's a monsoon. April's going to give us some warm weather and then some really cold weather. And you know what Russ is going to want to do? Go get a hot cocoa. Bad life choice. Go get a meatball sub. A meatball hoagie. Go get a meatball hoagie. For shame. They are almost now proactively fat shaming me and the rest of the Wawa Rewards members. They're saying, hey, Tubby, you can't, you know what? Waiting a year is too much. You go fatten up right now. Right now. 6 months. It's a damn shame. Wawa, you've lost me. You've lost. I mean, you were going to lose me anyway. Let's be fair. Sheets is going to move into Limerick. Sheets is going to be in Downingtown. I have no use for Wawa anymore. But still, Wawa, knowing that Sheets is coming to town, knowing that Sheets is invading this territory, or as the Brits would say, this territory, don't you think it might be advantageous? Don't you think it might behoove you to just leave the status quo instead of making it so restrictive? Apparently not. Apparently not. Okay. That's where I chose to start the show today. Am I insane? Yeah. Did you know that already? You did, because as I let off the show, this is the Russ Joy Show, and I'm Russ Joy, but you knew that already because you're smart, and it's also the name of the show. I'm going to go over to the comments here really quick, and then we're actually going to talk about Philadelphia sports, because the Sixers are back tonight. I am very willing and ready to be heard again by the Sixers. The Flyers have some momentum. They finally have found a new number one man in net, and he has done tremendous work. Matvei Michkov, who some are calling Fatvei, he's looking good, or he's at least looking significantly better than he did a week ago. Oh, and by the way, Brandon Graham is back. Isn't that a lovely story? A lovely story. We're going to get there as well. First, I go out to the comments. Chris Freed says, Russ, you claim to know something about music. With the Hooters in town for 2 sold-out shows at the Keswick this weekend, what is the Hooters' best song? Well, I think they make a spicy wing, and I remember ordering mozzarella sticks at a Hooters in Berlin, Germany. The only time I've ever gone to a Hooters. I sat outside there was like a train going overhead, I think, and there was a Hooters. There was like a brick building or like a station or something. So they definitely had wings, and I remember getting mozzarella sticks, and none of it was particularly good. So I would say that those are probably their 2 best apps. If you're asking for my opinion, Chris, and clearly you are. JH says BG lives. We'll get there later on in the show. Fawcett is here from Texas with the greetings. And then, of course, we have, Amadeo got worried because I said that somebody declared war. And, then he gets himself all worked up. Oh, no, now Russ is going to go crazy and I'm going to have to do a whole bunch of short form content. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Chris also asks, the points change? That's the issue? It is. 100%. Fawcett's also right. Bucky would never let me down. I trust Bucky. I trust Sheets. JH says, Wawa's been going downhill for a long time. I, for one, welcome our new Sheets overlords. I want to point out really quickly, because I monitor this stuff because I'm kind of insane. There was a lot of negativity around Sheets opening up in Limerick like a while ago, about a month, 2 months ago.
I can't believe we don't need another gas station selling food across the street from a gas station selling food.
Now that the building is like very much being put together and like starting to look not quite like a finished product, but a lot closer. Now, all of a sudden, I'm starting to see a lot of these Wawa turncoats. Oh, love Sheets. I've always loved Sheets. I love the fryer. The fryers are great. Did you know that they fry things and they put Z's on the end of stuff? Yeah, I knew. I knew that random guy from Limerick Township. I knew that. You didn't know that, but now you realize that Wawa stinks. You're welcome. All right. Jim Grasso asks, they don't feed you at the game. They have tubular meats at the Flyers games. Or you go downstairs, and I don't even know how much it is anymore. Kevin Kurtz, I think, put something out that's like $18 or $15 or something for the media meal. I try to avoid Aramark food wherever I can and whenever I can. I remember having like a few of the media meals years ago at Flyers games. I'll eat the free tubular meats. I have a streak going. I've had at least one tubular meat at every Flyers game so far this season. There was one day I had 4, and I regretted that almost immediately. I don't recommend 4 hot dogs. The worst part about it is I don't know what made me more nauseous that night. Me eating 4 hot dogs or Anthony Sanfilippo calling them glizzies. I think him calling them glizzies actually made it worse. I think that was the thing that upset me more. But I can't tell you for sure, but I'm like pretty sure about that. We'll continue. Peter Tom Willis is now hungry, so I did that. That's fine. JH asks, has Fat Vay discovered Wawa yet? Maybe they were trying to stop him from abusing it. There is a Wawa close to the arena. Fawcett says that I'm going to blame Wawa for my weight. I'll blame a lot of things for my weight. My weight's not even bad, but I wanted it to come down, and I'm kind of lazy, and I don't always make the best dietary choices. I'm an imperfect person, but I've never told you that I am perfect. Let's see. Oh God. Yeah, lots of questions about the tubular meats at Flyers games. I'm starting to get a little bit worried. A lot of people know a lot about it. Ford says that the mac and cheese at Wawa is a guilty pleasure, or it was in college mostly and a few years after. It's like Stouffer's. It's like Stouffer's mac. That's fine if you're into that kind of thing. I'm not really, but you can be. Ray Supper says, I use my points within a month, and a few times a week I go over to the new one and get hoagies and beer. Sheets isn't coming to Tampa. They killed all the other places. Okay. Well, maybe you can hope and pray to the Sheets gods that you will be blessed, right? Maybe you'll get blessed with the Sheets. You don't know. No one knows. I don't know, but you don't either. Let's see. David Castleman, no longer welcome on the show, says Sheets is okay to meh. Sorry, I don't make the rules. And also says Wawa is the shiznit. I think, I'm just looking at this. I think if you take out the Z, N, and I think that you're right, but you also have to remove the as well. So remove the and then Z, N, I. And then I think you're onto something. I do. Let's see. David Castleman goes, I'm driving an hour one way tomorrow to go to a city I don't care for because they have a Wawa opening tomorrow. I would love to hear about that. I would. AJ's here, resident Rangers fans checking in. Hopefully he's not here today to tell us about. Have the Rangers scored a goal at home since we last spoke to AJ? That's actually a question that I have. I have not been keeping up with the blue shirts. Let's see. How are they? Did they score? They did. The Rangers scored a goal at home on Monday. They lost. They lost 3-1 to the Wild, but they did score a goal at home. So congratulations, Rangers. You still stink, but you don't, I guess, stink as much as you did before. Let's see. AJ's also here poo-pooing on Aramark. Poo-pooing is also what a lot of people do after they eat Aramark food. Now, I'm not saying that for sure. I'm just saying, maybe. Now, speaking of food, I will encourage you that tonight in Warrington, Pennsylvania at 6 o'clock, Snow the Goalie Radio will be live at Chickies and Pete's in Warrington. You should do whatever you can to get to that show tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are going to have a blast. We're going to talk a lot of puck. We'll be taking calls. We'll be shaking hands. I'm not going to kiss a baby, but if you offer a baby up to somebody, somebody might give that baby a kiss. But come on out. We will be there in Warrington tonight, 6 o'clock. And then I think we're in Drexel Hill next week. So we're going to be all over the place. And then we'd like do a New Jersey tour, it feels like, for the month of November. So just kind of keep your eyes peeled. But Snow the Goalie Radio, live, 6 o'clock, Wednesday night in Warrington at Chickies and Pete's. Come on out. I had a crab cake sandwich last week. Made me happy. Made me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. You know what else makes me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum? I'll go to the thing that I didn't intend to go to first, but I will go to it first after I got done the Wawa stuff. Brandon Graham is coming back. This is a surprise to just about no one, but Brandon Graham is coming back. Now, I know that there are a lot of people that are very, very excited about the return of Brandon Graham, and he is a wildly popular player, and he is a guy that is revered in Philadelphia. And I'll tell you this. I think Brandon Graham's a great dude. And when it's all like, when I look back at my specific fandom, right? And if I look back at the times I've been right about a player, wrong about a player, that I jumped the gun on a player, that maybe I was a little bit too caught up in the moment at the draft about a player, Brandon Graham has largely outperformed all expectations. And you'll go back to when he was drafted. Earl Thomas was on the board. I think it was Schefter. I think they cut to Schefter and they said, well, the Eagles are going to be drafting Earl Thomas, the safety. We're like, okay, cool. We need a safety. Safety would be great. We were still in that point where we were missing B-Doc. And they took Brandon Graham. And we all said, what the hell is this? Talk about overthinking the pick. And boy, were we wrong. Now, Earl Thomas had some things out of his control happen that shortened his career. But Brandon Graham became one of the most beloved athletes in, I would say, the history of Philadelphia sports. And the Eagles put this graphic out, and they were very proud of it, and they should be. BG is back. And that's great. And I think that if Brandon Graham felt like there was still some meat left on the bone, and if Brandon Graham felt like he wasn't done yet, he needed to go out and achieve a few more things. He needed to, I don't know what those things were, but he felt like he wasn't done his playing days yet, then good on him for coming back. You know, there was a time where people really, really hoped that Jason Kelce was going to come out of retirement. And he held firm. Jason Kelce retired, held firm. Did not play for the Eagles last season. Did not get to hoist his second Super Bowl like Brandon Graham did. He stayed retired. Brandon Graham, even as he retired, remember there was the visual of him with the 2 Lombardi trophies on the desk in front of him. He sounded like a guy that wasn't necessarily ready to retire yet. Now, did he feel like he was being pushed out? Did he feel like maybe his family was saying, hey, we really want you to be home. You've had a great career. What better way to go out than with a Super Bowl win? Remember, he had torn his tricep. He retore the tricep in the Super Bowl. He's an incredible cornerstone. You could even make a case, maybe, that Brandon Graham is on like the Mount Rushmore of defensive players in Eagles history. You could certainly make a case. At the very least, he's probably a top 10 all-time defensive player for the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's my issue. And again, I think it's great for Brandon Graham if he wants to come back. I think it's great for the Eagles that they said, yeah, hell yeah, man, come back. Here's the downside, okay? The Eagles shouldn't need Brandon Graham. They shouldn't. The Eagles should not be in desperate need of an edge rusher. The Eagles should not have been in desperate need of an edge rusher when they went out and got Zadarius Smith. And then Zadarius Smith came into town, was impactful, and then said, yeah, I'm out. I still have lots of questions about if there was, extenuating circumstances that led to Zadarius Smith all of a sudden retiring. But still, he leaves, and the Eagles look around and they say, well, the trade options probably aren't that great. Trey Hendrickson is going to cost us an arm and a leg. It's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to cost a lot of assets. Was his team really willing to trade with him in the first place, or trade him in the first place? And so now you have to go to the retirement group. You have to go back to Brandon Graham, who seemed to have made peace with the decision, or at least did a convincing enough job that a lot of people believed he was ready to be done. And I have a legitimate question about it. I have a legitimate issue with it. Is this an indictment on Howie Roseman for not addressing the position better? Now, Jahad Campbell played linebacker to start the year. And once Nakobe Dean came back, then the thought was, okay, Jahad Campbell maybe can start rushing off the edge, and maybe that helps. Am I opposed to the idea of Brandon Graham working closely with Jahad Campbell? No, I think it would actually be a great thing. Do I want Brandon Graham to be a starter on this team? Not necessarily. Like, if all things go well, I'd like Brandon Graham to be a limited snap guy who's there for his leadership to help this potentially slightly fractured locker room. I would like Brandon Graham to be here and to help with all of the intangibles and all the other things, and maybe help in player development. But do I want or need to see Brandon Graham go out and take like 80% of the snaps or 50%, 60% of the snaps on defense? Probably not. And if Brandon Graham comes in and he is your most impactful edge rusher, then that to me is a legitimate issue. Like, that's a legitimate problem. Now, that's the negative. That's the cynic way to look at it. I will say that it is good that he's back. I will say that, like, in the locker room, he was a very well-liked guy. This was reiterated many times over. But man, when you have to start going back to the retirees, that's where I get worried. I'm not going to draw the direct comparison and the direct parallel, but David Robertson wasn't pitching all season in Major League Baseball. And Dave Dombrowski looked around and said, well, I don't see anything on the trade market right now that looks like a good idea. So how about I go back to David Robertson? He's just kind of hanging out. He's older. He could come in and help us in the playoffs. If we get there, he could help us late in the regular season. Yeah, let's get David Robertson. There's nothing wrong with bringing in mercenary help. And in this case, bringing in a mercenary who is absolutely beloved by the organization. However, we need to be really careful and set some realistic expectations. Now, if Brandon Graham comes out and puts up like 4 sacks over the next 8 weeks, then we say, hell yeah. Great signing. Great job coming back. Here's the problem, though. Brandon Graham had the perfect opportunity to walk away from it all, hoisting the second Lombardi trophy of his career and the second Lombardi trophy in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles. He went out in like the most perfect way, a Super Bowl win. If it doesn't happen this year, if the Eagles don't hoist the Lombardi trophy, is he going to now feel the itch to come back and try to go out again with a Lombardi? Is this going to turn into Brandon Graham doesn't know when to hang it up? Is this going to become Brandon Graham becomes the defensive version of Jason Peters? I don't think so. I think he has a much better concept of what he can and can't do. But it does make me a little bit nervous. I don't know of a time, somebody could let me know in the comments. I can't think of a time when a guy had that perfect send-off and then backed out of it and then was able to retire at the same or near the same kind of peak. I don't know if it's happened before. All right, I'm going to go out to the comments. People can let me know what they think about Brandon Graham, and then we're going to move on to the Philadelphia 76ers and the Philadelphia Flyers. I know, crazy. But that's what we're here for. Chris Freed says, stick a fork in BG. He is done. He's just getting started. How can you say he's done? You haven't even seen him yet. Joey B is here, says, Russ Joy, I finally found you. Hello from Colorado. Joey B, hello. Like the video, share the video, subscribe. What the hell do you mean you just found me? Finally found me. I've been here the whole time. If you put Russ Joy into YouTube, I'm everywhere. The time of the show varies a little bit. It's usually in or around the 2:30 to 3 o'clock start time Eastern. But thanks for being here, Joey B. Says, it's the first time you're seeing me without a hat. Look at the hairdo. Impressive. Thank you, I guess. I'm actually kind of in a war with my hair right now. We're not going to get into that on the show. I've already hijacked the show with a lot of talk about Wawa. I also don't wear a hat a lot. So, Joey B, what are we talking about? But I do appreciate you for being here. Peter Tom Willis says, BG is most certainly guaranteed for a big play in a big game. He's a clutch guy. We do know that. Chris Reed has to bring it negative again. Jesus, Chris. Can we get a little bit of happy? If I'm Russ Joy, does that make you Chris Killjoy? What are we doing here, Chris? Says, how about the latest AJ Brown tweet? It was a post on Instagram. Something like, when getting used without getting used or whatever. I don't care. AJ Brown can put whatever the hell he wants out on Instagram if he has a game like he had this past weekend. AJ Brown can post whatever the hell he wants as long as that locker room isn't going to implode. And if they go and win another Super Bowl, I could not give less of a shit what AJ Brown puts out. And at this point, you have to imagine that all of his teammates are just kind of, all right, let AJ be AJ. Part of me also wonders if he's trolling the radio stations. If he's just like trying to drum up conversation. If AJ Brown's just like, yeah, it's kind of fun now. It's just kind of fun to like put something out that's kind of innocuous and watch them melt down. JH says, Eagles need to bring in some of the hockey players for the locker room drama. Oh boy. I don't know. Ford says, Brandon Graham, I will say, I like his voice in the locker room, maybe more than his play at this point. That's fair. That is fair. Freed says, if the Eagles are offering a paycheck, BG will take it. All right, well, fine. Oh, here you go. Joey B clarifies that I used to wear a backwards hat a lot with Kincaid on Crossing Broadcast. I guess that's fair. That was a long time ago. But that is true. AJ says, is BG coming out of retirement really that different from the Sixers load managing Embiid? Yeah, it's vastly different. Brandon Graham had a very, very long, mostly healthy career and is at an age where it's okay for you to walk away from the sport. Embiid getting load managed is entirely different. That is an attempt to be proactively anti-shitty when he gets later on in the season and hoping that his body won't break down. So I'd say it's not really close at all. The idea of having to load manage Brandon Graham is more of like, I don't think they have to load manage him physically. I think it's more like, ideally, some of these younger guys on the team are going to be able to impress and make enough plays that Brandon Graham is a luxury and not as much of a necessity. Joel Embiid is every bit of a necessity for the Sixers. Let's see. Ford says, oh no, Ford already said this. He bumped his own comment and I already pulled it up. Ford, what are we doing here? What are we doing, dude? We're doing so well. We're doing so well. JH says Embiid being load managed also comes off the back of them lying to everyone about his injury in the first place. Well, since we're bringing up Joel Embiid, I guess let's go to a little bit of positivity. Can everybody just join me on Positivity Corner here really quickly? You know what? For Positivity Corner, I'm gonna bring you in nice and close. I know you don't want to be that close. I get it. I'm here. I understand. I'm ready to be hurt by the Sixers again. I am. I just need to know if you're willing to get hurt by the Sixers as well. If you are, just extend your hand. Just take a second, extend your hand towards your TV, your laptop, your phone, your tablet. If you're sitting right now at a cubicle at work and you have this show on a tab that's been minimized somewhere in the background of your computer, and now everybody around you is looking at you really funny, like, why do you have your hand reached out? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about them. It's me and you and the commenters. You know, I'm not judging you. Ford might be, JH might be, AJ could be, Joey B might be, a video guy. I don't know. But maybe we're not doing any judging. But listen, I'm ready to be hurt by the Sixers again. I'm going to tell you why. I have a sneaking suspicion that VJ Edgecombe is going to be a freaking star. I have now built this up in my mind in a way that I did not expect to, that VJ Edgecombe is going to be an all-star by his third year in the NBA. I have now built it up in my head that VJ Edgecombe, Tyrese Maxey, and Jared McCain might be one of the 5 most talented, most intriguing backcourts in the entire NBA if they can stay healthy this year, which I get is a very big caveat. And I know it feels crazy, and I know it's a lot to say. Jared McCain, he had a really good rookie campaign until he tore his meniscus. And isn't he dealing with a tear in his thumb? VJ Edgecombe, a lot of people wanted Ace Bailey. How could VJ Edgecombe? I'm telling you, there was something about watching VJ Edgecombe play the game of basketball that gives me some Anthony Edwards feelings. It gives me some Jimmy Butler feelings. There is a cold-bloodedness to the way that VJ Edgecombe plays. Now, I love Tyrese Maxey. I love the positivity of Tyrese Maxey. I love the smile. I love the talent, the finishing at the rim that I would say is probably the best finishing at the rim that any Sixers guard has certainly had since Allen Iverson. I can make the case that Maxey might be the best guard finisher at the rim, period, in the NBA since Allen Iverson. He's that damn good. You can watch Tyrese Maxey at a full sprint somehow end up with the gentlest touch at the rim after he breaks away from the other end of the court. I get that I maybe can't be as objective about the Sixers. It's the time of my baba. I can't let it go. She and I used to watch all these Sixers games together. I can't let it go. I won't let it go. I will maintain fandom in one of these sports. I will not be as objective for one of these teams, and it'll be the Sixers. But I do firmly believe Maxey is a legitimate star in this league. I do believe that VJ Edgecombe is going to become a star in this league. I think Jared McCain is a really good player. I think that if the Sixers are able to get anything relatively consistent out of Joel Embiid, which is the biggest if of all, they will be a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference, which is a bad conference. So it doesn't even feel like a very high bar to say top 6. Here's where Russ goes crazy. If the Sixers get a relatively healthy Joel Embiid, and by relatively healthy, I mean any of the injuries that he deals with are ones that he's dealt with before and are manageable concerns, not tears. Like, we're not talking about another torn meniscus. We're not talking about like torn cartilage somewhere. We're not talking about like a torn ligament or something in his hand. I mean like normal management of his knee, of his back. If they're able to get around 60 games of Joel Embiid with the backcourt playing the way that I think it can, they could be top 6 in the East. If they somehow can beg and plead with the basketball gods and they can get a remotely healthy Paul George, because I still don't know when he's going to play. So it's hard to put a number on it without knowing when he's coming back. If they can get 50 games out of Paul George, because I'm going to assume that he's going to miss some time here in the beginning of the year, and I assume that there will be another spurt that he'll miss time. If they can get 50 games out of Paul George, 60 games out of Joel Embiid, they will be a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. If they can somehow get a perfectly healthy Joel Embiid and perfectly healthy Paul George, they will cease to exist because that reality is not the one that we live in. But I will tell you, a perfectly healthy Sixers team, if you were to sim this in 2K, there is a non-zero chance they could end up being in contention for the top spot in the Eastern Conference. I'm not going that far. I have been burned enough by the Sixers to know you don't go that far. I could see a conceivable path to them being a top 3 team in the East. I know last year that I said top 4. I kept saying that Boston had to be considered one of the top teams. New York had to be considered one of the top teams. And I think I flirted with the idea, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, that Milwaukee with Dame and Giannis to start the year, I felt like could be a top 3 team. So the Sixers could have been a top 4 team in the conference. I don't remember going much past that. I'm sure Ford has the clip all ready to go. I don't remember exactly. I think that it is realistic they finish in the top 6 because I do expect there to be injury issues with Embiid and Paul George. If this team finishes the season healthy, I actually don't care nearly as much about where they finish the regular season standing-wise. I care about how they finish the season health-wise. If the Sixers are the number 6 seed, but that is on the back of Embiid being healthy and Paul George being healthy and ready for the playoffs, well, then the Sixers as a 6th seed are a team you do not want to play against. But I would be remiss if I didn't point out, like, who are some of the teams that people are getting really high on? There's this thought that Jason Tatum is going to play this year, which I think is absolutely insane. And he might play. Man, if I were in any position of power with the Celtics, the last thing I would want to do is put Jason Tatum in a position where he could re-tear that Achilles, right? That would be catastrophic. But we're going to assume that Boston is going to be at least a good team. And if they get Jason Tatum back, even at like 70%, they're going to be a really solid team. They will. Cleveland will be a good regular season team. I'm still not sold on them being a great team. Orlando will be a good team. I don't think they'll be a great team. Atlanta will be a good team. Mostly, they will hit their peak powers whenever Kristaps Porzingis plays. But that, much like with Embiid and Paul George, is a kind of fleeting thought. Can he be healthy for a full year? Well, no. Can he play a lot of games? Maybe. Will he play like half the season? Most likely. They'll look really good in those games. There aren't a lot of teams in the East that scare me. I omitted the Knicks here because obviously I think the Knicks, as currently constructed, I think the Knicks should probably win the conference. If everybody's healthy, like if we just look at these teams at their best, it should probably go some version of like Knicks, I guess Cavs. I wasn't a big believer in the Cavs last year. I'm not a particularly big believer in them this year. I'd say the Sixers have a shot at 3. If Boston gets Jason Tatum back for more than half a season, they really could be a top 3 team. I'm not going to go against them. Orlando's probably a 5 or a 6. There's no one else that really that jumps to mind. Giannis is a wonderful player, but Dame is gone. I don't really believe in Milwaukee. I don't think Milwaukee has an incredibly high ceiling. So again, I could be wrong. I'm sure I will be reminded 45 times if I'm wrong. And I know that it's crazy to try to bank on Embiid's health and bank on Paul George's health. But I'm going to live in a world where there's just a little bit of positivity on a wonderful Wednesday, on opening night, Sixers Celtics. And what would be a really great way to start the year is the Sixers go on the road. They take on the Celtics at TD Garden. And although we know that it's going to be a little bit problematic, although we know that the Celtics aren't at full health, Jason Tatum isn't there, Al Horford isn't even on the team anymore, the Sixers should be able to go into Boston tonight and win. If they have Joel Embiid, which they're supposed to, they should be able to go and get a win. What I'll be most interested in is how does VJ Edgecombe look in his first ever regular season NBA game? Again, I am convinced that this kid is going to be a star. I've been wrong about players before. I've been very right about players before. I think Edgecombe is going to be a difference maker. And I'm very interested to see how he and Tyrese Maxey play off one another. Very, very interested. There are a whole lot of weird things with this team. Rotation-wise, I think some stuff's going to be a mess. Depth-wise, this team doesn't have it. I think they're going to miss Yabusele in a big way. But I think they're going to be a good team. I just do. I could be wrong. Chris asks a very fair question. You love the NBA, but not college basketball. What happened? I also don't really like college football. I just don't care about the college sports. I don't. When Martone and Michigan State take on McKenna and Penn State, like, will I watch that game? Maybe it's like the second game on like passively. I'll watch it. It'll be like on a second screen. I don't really care about college sports. I know. It could also be because I didn't go to a D1 school. I went to Westchester. Like, sports were sports, you know? So I'm going over here really quick just to see. Oh my gosh. Okay. Here we go. Ford says, I have some hope for the Sixers, but it's that hope that could easily be killed. VJ can definitely play. He's legit. Well, hey, look, a little bit of positivity. Chris Freed says there should be a Russ Joy contest on what injury takes down VJ Edgecombe. I want to believe that the Sixers rookie curse is over and that McCain getting hurt before the season even started was kind of like, oops, we doubled up on last year's rookie and this year's rookie is safe. JH asks, have you checked your carbon monoxide detectors lately? They don't last forever and you can't see or smell. So apparently JH thinks that I'm going crazy because he says some stuff. I'm alive. Don't worry. I don't actually know what I just kicked though, but it hurt, whatever it was. I've got a bruise on my heel. Let's see. Joe Fisher says, I can't watch the NBA as much as I used to watching the games. See one player run with the ball, no call. Other player does the same thing, and it's called traveling. Yes, I know. It's the officiating isn't exactly fair. Ford is also concerned about Paul George. Says he's a complete loser. Connor Allen says, can't wait for Tatum to somehow come back in 4 months and kill us. It's possible. I also like this theory. Tatum's already dunking and because he doesn't want Brown to become the guy. I don't think Brown could be that guy anyway. So he doesn't really have to wait or worry about much. I'm glad that everybody's enjoying the falling off the screen. I have very cautious optimism about the Sixers season opener tonight. By all means, you can tweet at me if I'm a total idiot. On Friday, you can tell me I'm a total dope if they get boat raced by the Celtics. I just don't see it happening tonight. I think that they're going to go and they're going to try to make themselves a little bit of a statement to start the year. I think that here's the one thing that you should probably take a little bit of solace in, right? VJ Edgecombe has an axe to grind, right? He knows that there were a lot of people who thought Ace Bailey should have been the pick. Not necessarily among Sixers fans. I think Sixers fans have embraced VJ Edgecombe. I don't think there's a lot of buyer's remorse there. But there are people in league circles who are like, well, why didn't the Sixers take Ace Bailey? Who cares if he didn't want to play there? Look what Utah did. They took him anyway, and they're going to force his hand. I think VJ Edgecombe wants to prove that he's the best rookie in his class, a class that also happens to have Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper. I get it. But I think VJ Edgecombe has something to prove. I think Tyrese Maxey has something to prove. I think him missing time last year probably burns him a little bit. He's been talking about the standard that he wants to see the Sixers establish this year. Nick Nurse has kind of talked about that as well. I think Maxey wants to show that he can be the leader on the team. And make no mistake about it, I think Joel Embiid has every intention of proving every hater wrong. This is a guy who pays attention to everything. This is a guy who I believe reads a lot of things, listens to a lot of things, sees a lot of things, is very acutely aware of the criticism of him, his legacy, his career, his inability to stay healthy. Is he overweight? Is he out of shape? All of it. I think he's aware of all of it. And I think he's going to come out and try to have he's going to have a point to prove. I won't be surprised as long as he can be healthy within reason. I would expect to see Joel Embiid put up numbers that are similar to the MVP season. It's all about whether or not he can stay healthy. They have really leaned into this idea that Joel Embiid's body is going to dictate when he plays and doesn't play. If they somehow are able to use that very arbitrary system and he can be healthy, Embiid's awesome. I think you're going to have a bunch of people who are going to remember how good he is. Last season sucked. He never looked healthy from the jump. At no point did he seem fully right. He looked kind of disassociated with what was going on the court. I think he was probably just deeply disappointed and concerned that maybe his career was over or why he couldn't get healthy. I think he's going to prove how damn good he is. We saw flashes of it in the preseason finale. I really do think he's going to go out and ball out tonight. And again, I think he's going to do it because even though it's not a healthy Celtics team, the Celtics are the ones that have been the thorn in his side throughout his entire career. So there we go. That's all. I got it. Okay. Now, last thing I wanted to get to has to do with the Philadelphia Flyers. I know. On Monday's show, I talked about Dan Vladar. I told you Dan Vladar is a damn good goalie, and I brought up the fact that Dan Vladar really established himself as the number one on this team. He is the number one man in net. Vladar goes out on Monday night, allows 2 goals to Seattle, and technically his goals against and his save percentage both went up. But he is now 3-1-0 on the season. The only loss coming to the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, which he avenged with a win against that same Panthers team. He was also able to pull off a win against Minnesota in overtime, and he got the win against Seattle. It's a 5-2 win by the Flyers, which we'll get to in a second. But Vladar, as of Wednesday, before any games are played, is 8th in the NHL with a .929 save percentage, 4th in the NHL with a 1.75 goals against average. And I understand that Dan Vladar is not going to be top 4 in goals against at the end of the season. I fully understand it. I am not trying to kid myself. I'm not trying to kid or mislead any of you. But I will point out that Vladar really has looked legit. He legitimately looks like a starter. I'm not going to say that he's somehow a top 10, top 15 goalie in the league. No, he looks like a competent goalie, which this team didn't have last year. Sam Ersson had very short spurts where he looked like the Sam Ersson the Flyers were hoping they'd rely on as the number one. Alexei Kolosov never really got comfortable. Ivan Fedotov never really got comfortable. When you juxtapose two Sam Ersson starts where he's given up at least 4 goals, including at least one cupcake, how the hell did that go in goal? When you juxtapose that versus Vladar so far, it's not even close. And so we can feel good about the man they refer to as Darth Vladar. And even though these shirts are not on like the Russ Joy Show shop, they're over on the Snow the Goalie shop, I will very briefly point out to you that we have a badass shirt and a badass hoodie for Dan Vladar. So if you haven't seen these yet, you go over to shop.snowthegoalie.com. We have a hoodie, a women's relaxed fit shirt, and the t-shirt. This is my favorite design we've ever done. Darth Vladar. I mean, you want to talk about detail? I'm telling you, man. You want to talk about detail? Just peep this a second, all right? You got Vladar, a little bit of an homage to Darth Vader. He's got the Darth Maul. This is a thing that we talked about as a team. A little bit of a Darth Maul two-sided lightsaber going on. One half is the goalie stick. The other half, an orange lightsaber, of course. He's got the Vader cape. I mean, listen. I'm not going to tell you that you need to run out and buy a Darth Vladar shirt over at shop.snowthegoalie.com. I will tell you, this is by far the fastest selling design we have ever dropped on the store. We have had more orders come in for this Darth Vladar design than anything else we have ever dropped. That includes even when we initially opened the store and we were only selling like Snow the Goalie merch. And a lot of people bought Snow the Goalie merch. Make no mistake, a lot of people bought Snow the Goalie merch. The Darth Vladar stuff has been a massive success so far. And my hope is that while I don't think he's going to be some unbelievable revelation that's going to, fundamentally change how we look at the goalie position here with the Flyers, I do hope that he continues to find a lot of success. I really do. And I think he will. And the Flyers play very well in front of him. But I brought this up on Press Row Show the other night. We'll talk about it on Snow the Goalie tonight, 6 o'clock at Chickies and Pete's in Warrington. You should come out and see it. There's this long-held belief, a team plays better in front of the backup maybe, or a team plays better in front of a goalie that just got inserted into the lineup for the first time because they play more conservatively and within their system because they don't know what to expect of that goalie. They play a better game in front of that goalie. You've probably heard it a million times. I think that the inverse is actually true here. Not that they play worse in front of Vladar. That's not the case. I think that Vladar's play in net has been so steady for this team that they are actually willing to take a few chances because they're not worried that if things don't go perfectly according to plan in the offensive zone and a guy gets a breakaway, that it's a foregone conclusion that the puck's going to end up in the back of the net. I think these guys are willing to try to get out of their zone, maybe with a slightly unconventional pass to get out of their own zone because they're not worried that if the puck gets turned over at the blue line and a shot gets ripped in by a defenseman, that somebody's just going to happen to have a really weak-ass deflection or the puck's not going to hit a defenseman and then just kind of land there and, Ersson's going to lose track of it, lose it in the lights, and it's going to end up in the goal. I think that this team is able to actually play a better holistic game because they are not worried about cheap goals going in against Vladar. And again, it's early. They've only played 6 games. He's only started 4 games. I get it. But man, they play so much better in front of him. And he, it seems, gives them better opportunities to play their game. I will also point out, Matvei Michkov the other night looked significantly better than he did last week. Now, would I say that like game over game, he looked significantly better on Monday than he did against the Wild? Not necessarily. Do I think he looked that much better than he did against Winnipeg last Thursday? Yeah, I would say he looked considerably better than that. I think Michkov is starting to get that conditioning up. The thing that's the most intriguing to me about this team right now is the power play and playing with the man advantage. There was a moment early in the first period on Monday night where the Flyers had a delayed penalty. Michkov came flying in. He was ready to go. They had that man advantage. And instead of gripping the stick too tightly, worrying about, oh shit, if we make a bad play, I'm not going to get power play time. Instead of being worried about, oh, what happens if we turn the puck over and, this delayed penalty, the power play ends up starting instead. We lose out on this, pretty much uncapped, right, amount of time that you can have this man advantage. Instead of worrying about that, they were cycling the puck. They're not looking for the perfect pass. They're looking for a good pass. And because of the motion that they're running, and because of, I don't know if it's an overall just increase in skill with the man advantage. I don't know what it is exactly. But this team looks so much more confident with the puck on their stick with the man advantage. They're not afraid to make mistakes. And so they're playing a looser game, but not a loose game in the way that like the puck goes the other way and they make you pay for it. No, it's like they're playing with more comfort. They're playing not to lose, right? Like they're not playing not to lose. They're not overly conservative. They're just playing their game. And this Flyers team looks so much better than it did last year. The power play looks so much better than it did last year. And I get they're not like lighting the world on fire with the power play right now. But if you watch last year's power play versus this year's, it is night and day. So I'm looking positive, right? I'm looking optimistically at the Flyers, but not unrealistically at the Flyers. I think that there is a path here to the Flyers having a very, very successful season. I think they will be a playoff team. Almost all of it hinges on the goalies. This is not a surprise. If Vladar can even be a league average goaltender or slightly above that, they'll be a playoff team. But we'll see. I'm actually more interested in seeing when Sam Ersson gets back in net. It could be Saturday. I want to see when he gets back in net, how is Ersson going to look? Because if we're being honest, like he probably came into this year thinking he was going to be the number one guy and that was going to be established. Then he had a terrible preseason. He didn't exactly inspire a lot of confidence last year. It's a new coach. No one has any kind of equity built up with the coach. I kind of wonder, does Ersson get in net on Thursday against the Senators in Ottawa, or is he in net for the matinee on Saturday against the Islanders? I would think he plays tomorrow. And then you would play Vladar on Saturday against the Islanders. And then maybe you go back to Vladar on Tuesday against the Penguins. But I really don't know. If they go to Vladar tomorrow, then it's a foregone conclusion Ersson's in net on Saturday. And then you do roll back to Vladar on Tuesday. But then you're putting a whole bunch of days. I mean, from Thursday to Tuesday without having Vladar in net. I'll just be very interested to see what happens. Hopefully, Ersson doesn't lose whatever confidence he has. He had not great 2 games. You could say that at least 1 or 2 goals in each of Ersson's starts were not his fault, and that's fair. But then he always has at least one that is his fault, and is a boneheaded goal to give up. I hope that he's able to pull the nose up on it, because if Vladar plays really well and Ersson's dog shit, well, it does kind of throw a wrench in my theory about the playoffs. On a side note, Alexei Kolosov and Carson Bjarnason are having very strong seasons so far with the Phantoms. And all of a sudden, that situation looks significantly better. Like, you could almost envision, if you're getting way far ahead of yourself, if Vladar plays well this season, Sam Ersson's a restricted free agent at the end of the year. Maybe you look at trading his exclusive negotiating rights, and Alexei Kolosov is up here next year as either the starter or the backup. And then, a couple of years down the line, maybe Bjarnason's up here. And then at some point, Zavragin's over here taking over the league as the best goaltender. No one knows. No one knows. Here's what I do know. I will be back on Friday with a Russ Joy Show. Before that, however, I will be at Chickies and Pete's tonight in Warrington, 6 p.m. for Snow the Goalie Radio. Come on out. Have some crab fries. Have a crab cake. Have a burger. Have the mussels and the clams and all the things that we read on the ad read. Come on out. Warrington, 6 o'clock. Chickies and Pete's. We'll talk some puck with Snow the Goalie Radio. We talk other sports after. We can maybe watch some of the Sixers game. Sixers season opener tonight. And on Friday, I'll be back to recap it all. Saturday, back down at Xfinity Mobile Arena on, what time is it? I think it's a 12:30 start for the Press Row Show on Saturday. So keep an eye out there as well for Flyers Islanders. But anyway, big thank you to everybody who joined me. Big thank you to everybody who was here in the live chat over at YouTube, Facebook, and X. Don't forget, the show is also available in podcast form if you're into that kind of thing. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. Until Friday, this has been the Russ Joy Show, and I've been Russ Joy, but you knew that already because you're smart. It's also the name of the show. And Wawa, your policy about your reward points changing from 12 months to 6 months is dog shit. It is bad, and you should feel bad. But the rest of you, you're all great people. I'll talk to you Friday. Bye now.